and welcome to Wistful Vistas here in beautiful suburban San Diego, California, family and friends. I'm doing this vlog for a specific reason. I went out the other day for a ride, a wonderful sunny day, and that had been after several days of rain. We've had a very rainy year here in San Diego. And during the course of that ride, I had 3 separate incidents where cars pulled out in front of me at intersections. And that does usually happen once a week or thereabouts, but 3 in one day is highly unusual. Don't know the reason that happened to be. I thought for a minute that I had somehow dashed through a cloak of invisibility for the Tuono and myself, but not true. As you can plainly see in this video, I am visible. But for certain incidences and situations, you've got to assume that in fact there is a dash of invisibility in your existence, because cars will look at you and pull ahead anyway. In Australia they call it smidsy. Sorry mate, I didn't see you. Thank you for that, Australia. Great term, but it does describe it. During the course of that ride, I was doing a vlog anyway, and it occurred to me that I would excerpt those 3 incidences, because I did catch them on the camera, and share it with the community in the hopes that maybe this will help someone out. And I do a recap at the end of it, but it occurred to me that I should do a precap, invented word, for that, and share with you the 5 salient things I think you need to observe as you approach an intersection where there are other cars or cars approaching. First one, I would say, and by the way, I'd love to hear your opinion on these, whether you consider I'm right or wrong. First one is, how aggressively is that car coming up to the intersection? If it's moving very rapidly, there's a high probability that person intends to turn and go right ahead, not stop, or do what we refer to here as a California stop. That is, don't come to a full and complete stop, but roll through the intersection and go on through. Second potential scenario there is they don't necessarily go all the way through, but applying the brakes very rapidly, they extend a portion of their vehicle into the oncoming traffic because they've approached the corner too quickly. When that happens, you need to be very aware, because they may be extended so far into the intersection that you don't have the potential to go around the front of them without coming into oncoming traffic, and or your route around the back of them may be blocked. So you need to be highly aware of that situation. How rapidly are they approaching that corner? And that speed determines whether you should be in deceleration mood already, or whether you should be thinking, okay, it's all a calm and normal situation. At the very least, you need to see them coming up. The faster they're approaching that intersection, the more I advocate that you begin deceleration so that you're ready to go. Decelerating also gives you some throttle reserve, so that if your only means of avoiding an incident is acceleration, then you've got the throttle reserve to power through and get that done. Secondarily, I'm cheating, by the way, I'm looking at my cheat sheet here. Secondarily, you want to watch that front wheel. As a car is either stopped or coming to a stop, watch that front wheel. That's the giveaway. If that front wheel stays rolling, that means they're going to extend in the intersection, as we just mentioned a possibility, or in fact, they're going to go right on through. And the faster that front wheel is rolling, the more likely that secondary scenario is to happen. So watch that front wheel very closely. If it's moving, be quite aware that they may go ahead and approach into or near the intersection. Third is, which way is the driver looking? If the driver is looking up the road, they've got at least a 50-50 chance of spotting you. Now, they're still tuned to watching for an automobile or a vehicle, not necessarily a motorcycle, and they can look right through that motorcycle and not see anything. Remember smidsy. But with daytime running lights, some people advocate doing a little bit of a weave so that that unusual movement will catch the driver's eye. Not a bad idea, I don't think, if you have the time and presence of mind to do it. But if they're looking up the road, wheels are slowing or stopped, very good sign. If they just give a cursory glance and then look, again, I'm assuming that we're approaching from the left side here, and they're looking more down the right-hand side, they haven't seen you. There is a real possibility that they're going to pull ahead. So which way is the driver's looking? Does their face at least give them the possibility of having seen you? Another thing that I feel, I do not endorse honking the horn or hitting the horn as you're approaching and you see somebody moving like that. And I'll give you my reasons for that. First of all, it's very unlikely they're going to hear that horn. Motorcycle horns are notoriously anemic, and that sound just doesn't travel. Secondarily, in the car, they may be surrounded with their latest stereophonic rendition of whatever rock or tune they happen to be into. Sounds of emergency sirens do not penetrate that sound cocoon, so it's rather unlikely that your horn is going to penetrate through there. It's sort of a wasted motion in my thinking, to my thinking. Secondarily, should they hear it, they're quite likely to slam onto the brakes and come to an abrupt stop and look around and say, wow, what did just happen? What have I done? If they're proceeding into the intersection, that's an unexpected, unanticipated move. Where they stop and how they stop may have worse consequences for you than you already have your pre-planned escape route or avoidance route, provided they continue in a predictable fashion. So I think I've seen just about as big a potential for a confrontation or an accident with somebody slamming on the brakes as if they continued on through their intersection. If they're going and they're doing that, I've prepared by doing some deceleration or being aware of my situation, looked ahead and decided, should they go, I'm going behind them and around to the side, slowing down or whatever. Rather have that than hit the horn, have them suddenly stop the brakes, and there they are on the path that I have pre-selected. So that's my opinion there. Really like to hear yours as well on that honking the horn situation. And again, I'll go back and say, I just don't think it makes that much of a difference in our sound environment today. Last thing I'm going to say is don't hate. They can't see you. They don't see you. They're not trained to see you. And getting frustrated, screaming and yelling and calling them names and everything like that is really counterproductive. Doesn't work. Chances are they're not going to hear you anyway. Chances are you're going to confirm motorcycle stereotypes anyhow, motorcyclist stereotypes. But far more important to stay cool, not school, to stay cool and to react appropriately and hopefully surviving this potential confrontation. So hating, you're allowed to get angry, you're allowed to get frustrated. Certainly I was frustrated the other day, but rolling around being in that kind of a mood is not the best way to ride and be aware on a motorcycle. So don't hate, anticipate. Those are my pre-cap opinions on this. Hope you watch this vlog. It's a relatively short one, and I hope it is of some service out there to the motorcyclist and the car driving community. We've had a lot of rain, not just a little, a lot of rain for San Diego. It's comical. So those of you who live in those colder climes and look upon us with envy, while our temperatures are still in the moderate area for San Diego, we've had just rain, rain, rain. And mentioning being in the skill set and having been on a bike for a while, I don't need to ride in the rain. It's not a necessity. It's not a necessity either. It's not a necessity for me, so I don't ride in the rain. And that is probably not going to change unless I have to flee a zombie apocalypse or something like that. Apocalypse? Apocalypse. I should try those really big, expensive words while I'm vlogging. So, shelter in place, staying indoors. We are cooking a lot of meals together, and
at the same time, on a personal level, my wife, my lifelong companion and friend, Mrs. Maxine T. Cooper. Hello, car. Didn't see me. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt there. Has had a rotator cuff surgery, and she is in recovery. So her right arm is out of commission, and she's recuperating from that particular surgery. So in a sense, for her, it's although she would never say that it's a it's a good thing to have a pandemic, but in a sense for her, if she has to be indoors, it's a relatively good time for her to be indoors. So she is recuperating, coming along nicely, and what we do is cook our dinners and watch television. There you have an exciting day in the life. Occasionally, boy, what is it today? This is National I Don't Give a Darn About Motorcyclist Days. Okay, the parking lot is not too crowded here, so I'm going to, the other day we were here and the parking lot was very crowded, and people were, I'm just going to say, were pretty, not frantic, but you could see by the looks in their eyes and by the way they were acting that they were concerned, that there was concern. So I'm going to take that as a good sign. Okay, this has been National Pull in Front of a Motorcycle Day. Thank you, sir. I should be a little late. It's an issue. You come out of a corner and it's a little bit dark, and your vehicle doesn't carry the visual pop that one with four wheels does. And as much as I like to blame car drivers for that situation, I can't say it's entirely their fault. You're out of their context, their driving context. That's driving. So they go. And what the Australian term is smitzy. Sorry, mate, I didn't see ya. Which they will say as they pick up your pieces. But you've got to expect that. You just have to know that stuff. And again, that's a rider's instinct that you have to hone and somehow get back onto. Instinct, and I don't want to get yelled at by everybody who says instinct doesn't save you, it's situational awareness. Yeah, it is situational awareness, it truly is, but there is an instinct involved, and you can get perhaps a sense whether somebody's going to go or not. You can get a sense. The best thing to do is to watch the front wheel, watch the driver for part of your vision, and see if they're looking up the road at you. This does not necessarily indicate that they see you, but watch the front wheels. If the front wheels are moving, continuing to move, or beginning to move, there's your indication. They're going to come out. And you can honk the horn, lose your temper, do whatever it is that feels best for you to do at that moment. But it doesn't help anybody. So, in fact, I think if you honk your horn, even if they hear it, motorcycle horns are notoriously anemic. Even if they hear it, the tendency is to stomp on the brakes. And if they're into the lane and blocking you, that's not necessarily the outcome that you want. You really want them to follow a predictable pattern. Stomping on the brakes is not a predictable pattern, and that could be, and probably is even more dangerous than if they just hop out in front of you. So there's my 30 seconds. I think I'll flip that out and make that a whole separate thing. There's my minute or two on drivers who out ahead of you. Don't hate on them. Don't hate on them. Just be aware of them. Don't let them get the upper hand. They will do it. It's gonna happen, and frequently. Okay, we're coming up to kind of a boring part of my little Circuito de Casa Cooper. Circuito de Casa Cooper. And I'm going to just be quiet and drop this whole thing in Incidentally, and we'll take it up on the backside.